My name is Rob Love, the Wolf of Radio, and you're listening to Debatable Truths, where all truths are debatable, objectivity prevails, and mediation occurs. And today, joining me in the Wolfgang are special guest Marquette Magee. You've heard him from episode 2, Clay, CV, Ro, and Momma. Let's go. So I was me, the team lead, and both of our boss. Me and the team lead were the same pay grade, same level. She just, more experience, been at it long, and they've designated her as the lead for the course development. So she came in, and she lives in Louisville, and white lady, but she came in, and her first, the first thing he asked was, "How's everybody going with COVID?" And it was just us three on the meeting. So he asked her first. And she said, "Well, I'm a little disappointed because the Kentucky Derby is this weekend. They aren't letting any spectators come out to participate. And the reason is not, they said, is not because of COVID. It's because of that Breonna Taylor thing. And why is everybody up in ante over a woman that's a convict, a criminal, and a drug dealer?" You should have seen our boss. His mouth opened up so wide. He was like, "Did she just say that? And where is the?" And then yesterday they sent out the meeting email saying everybody need to take the EEO training. I didn't say a word because I could have gone on an hour because I don't think she. And that's how we keep saying. White people don't understand what we're actually going through and why it's an issue. Even if she was a drug dealer, which is unknown, if she was a drug dealer, if she was a criminal, well, you can find out if she's a criminal with a record, or if she was a convict or whatever. How does that have anything to do with her being in her bed sleep and getting killed by a cop?
This is the one that her boyfriend actually opened fire.
From what I've heard, again, I'm a avid talk radio listener, specifically NPR, but they said that he shot one time. Again, I'm reporting what I heard, that he fired one shot because he thought someone was breaking into the house because it was a no-knock warrant. So right. He fired a shot because he thought someone was breaking in. And as I understand it, she was hit 5 times. While in bed. So whether she's startled awake, she's awake, or what have you, she was in bed. And there was a shot fired, but I think any proud American who owns a gun is going to let off a shot when they hear their door busted open and someone running through their house. They're going to immediately attempt to protect themselves and their loved ones. And until go ahead, Clay. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So I mean, as I understand it, though, they had this no-knock warrant. They had the authorization to go, and to add insult to injury, they already had the target in custody at the time they executed the warrant. To me, it's a much higher failure of leadership. Not necessarily the guys who were executing the warrant. They did what they did, and they. If I was the homeowner, I probably would have responded the same way, especially knowing that I hadn't done anything wrong. And so I wouldn't be expecting law enforcement to come busting down my door. So I would automatically assume that whoever's coming through is probably up to no good, And I think the fact that they already had the target of the warrant in custody at the time they executed the warrant, to me indicates that there was some major miscommunication going on. And somebody certainly needs to be held accountable for it.
Yeah, Clay, you brought up some very important factors involved in this case. One being the suspect was proven to be in custody about 40 minutes prior to Breonna Taylor being killed. And 2, not only the officers that shot her fatally 5 times should be prosecuted, but what about the accountability at the highest level? Like, who signed off the no-knock warrant? Who dispatched the officers to that location to serve the warrant? Who's the lead supervisor on the case that was overseeing the execution of the warrant? What was it, like 4 or 5 different locations, supposedly simultaneously? But why wasn't the warrant on Breonna Taylor's apartment canceled after they had gotten the suspect in custody. But let's look at it from a few different angles. If I hear somebody banging at my door, I'm on alert. And if I ask who is it and you don't identify yourself, then we got a problem. If you do that several times and then battle ram my door, you catching heat, not in your leg, and you're probably not gonna survive. Now, it's a no-knock warrant, and as an officer of the law, I got the right to execute it because that's what I'm ordered to do. And if I ram the door in and get shot at, I'm returning fire. And pretty much with everything I got. Because wouldn't you? Think about it if it was your parent on the force, the brother, cousin, friend. What would you expect your officer, loved one to do if they rammed into a house executing a warrant that they have every right to execute and get shot at? You want them to come home safely. But once you consider the testimony from two of the white neighbors and Breonna's boyfriend, that they actually did knock. So they didn't even execute the no-knock warrant. They knocked on the door, banged on the door, according to the boyfriend's testimony, and a few of the neighbors, as I stated. But nobody has testified that they identified themselves. And that's how we understand that Breonna's boyfriend, the charges that he received for shooting one of the officers with one single bullet in the leg, was dismissed. How could charges be dismissed if he's guilty? They want to prosecute, especially a black man, for shooting an officer. If you can get a charge dismissed as a black man for shooting an officer, you best believe you have done nothing wrong. The report stated that the officer that got shot from the surface got off 6 shots. Another officer, I think, walked around back. That officer fired 10 times. And then the third officer fired so many bullets. One of the neighbors testified that they heard him say, reload, reload. 16 shots and an unknown number of shots. If you had to reload, I'm guessing you shot anywhere from 8 to 17. There's absolutely no doubt that Breonna Taylor's civil rights were violated and charges have to be filed immediately. But let's address the issue that we initially covered, which is why this particular team lead does not understand the fatality of this matter and the importance of why justice has to be served for the murder of Breonna Taylor.
It was about this lady and the fact that she could not relate to what was going on and why everybody responded, and why she could not go to the Kentucky Derby, and because of the fear of what would happen. Because there's a lot of black people that go to the Kentucky Derby. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if you've been, but it's a real good time. Everybody out there in their suits and whatnot. But back to the point, this lady could not relate to why, she could not go. And it was all because of things that affect other people that don't necessarily affect her. Things don't happen to certain individuals. I mean, like, we grew up the way we grew up. Clay, I don't know how you grew up, but when I was 11, 12 years old, I got put on the hood of a squad car, like, I don't know, maybe 10 times.
So I grew up in suburban Pennsylvania, about as far from New Orleans as one could possibly get, both ideologically and physically. And I can honestly say that I was never put on the hood of a cop car ever growing up or any other time. And I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that in our area, it just wasn't a thing. But also most people in my area look like me. And so I think there's a lot of truth to that as well. And I don't know, I feel like the issue with Rob's coworker kind of stems back to that, is that she lacks perspective, that understanding what people who look different are going through and have experienced their entire lives is something that's not really easy for people like me, just because it's not the life that we've lived. It's not our experience. It's not something that we've seen firsthand. I don't think I ever had any kind of exposure to racial profiling until I was in college, and I was riding with a buddy of mine who was black, and I'd been pulled over for speeding before a couple of times. No big deal. It was always very short. I hand in my license and registration. He hands me a ticket, in and out, probably 15 minutes. That didn't happen this time. This time we get pulled over. My buddy Adrian's driving, and we sit there for a solid half hour after getting pulled over before the policeman even came up to his window and addressed him, and didn't even come up to the window until he called for backup, and his buddy had showed up with a second squad car. And Adrian, very respectfully addresses the officer and asked why he called for a backup. And the officer's like, "Oh yeah, that's standard protocol." And after the officer returned to his car, Adrian turned to me. He said, "It's because I'm black." And I said, "This is the first time I've ever seen that, but yeah, I can't question that for sure." And that kind of opened my eyes to the fact that there are two very distinct experiences growing up in America. And I think most of it has to do with the color of your skin. A lot of it, I think, is circumstantial due to socioeconomics and things like that. But, I think that that's a thing that most Caucasian Americans don't recognize. They just have never had an experience like that, have never had cause to question their upbringing or anything else, and they just assume that everybody else's experience can be relatable to theirs. And so I think that is kind of part of the conversation that needs to happen, that people need to understand that not everybody's life has been the same up until this point, and that unless we actually engage in those interactions and hear people's stories and hear how people's experiences have differed coming up, that we're just going to keep on going in our own lane and just be oblivious to everybody else. As a byproduct of that, we're not going to be able to understand the struggles that they're going through.
When I hear that same, I guess, statement I hear from a lot of white folks, they always say, "Hey, if he would have just listened," or "this person would have just followed the rules." I mean, does that resonate with you? Do you really feel like that's the case most times? When you look at the video, the body cam video, do you really feel like they should have acted somewhat different when you see video cams? Or
we feel that way. We feel that way. We see plenty videos just like this, and we look at them and say, "Oh, he clearly didn't comply. All you had to do was comply." So
I think there's a couple of things there. So what Clay identified with empathy. He just said we just have to have empathy about what experiences that other people go through. And I think in general, Marquette, when people say that, they immediately defer to the authority figure. We've all been conditioned to defer to the authority figure, that they were in the right. He must have done something wrong, because why would the authority do something bad? They're the authority. We can't operate in this country with the belief that the authority is against us, the way that our country is founded and the ethos that we live by as a country. So if the authority figure is wrong, then there's something wrong with America, and then there's revolution. So no one can just accept that fact. And I would say that I did not have that direct type of experience of being put on the hood of a car. I think, as Clay said, it has a lot to do with location, socioeconomic status, and how the force operates. But I was never not aware of what could happen and what had happened to other people in my, not immediate community, but in my city, because we did not all grow up in the same place. Not just us, but I mean, even the people in the city, there was economics that separated people. And in certain areas, the economics were not as good as the other. All that to say, again, is that it's the empathy that any and everyone, as long as they apply that, they can understand why people are upset. say. They have to put themselves in another person's position and see what possibly could happen, and that everyone is not bad and everyone is not wrong in their dealings with the police.
Right. And Clay, before I hand it over to you, the first thing, speaking of the team lead, first thing that came to mind while she was talking was, wow, that was very insensitive. So I'm thinking, okay, you do know I'm black, right? Because you can see me on this camera. And then the other thing I thought of was how some people, I haven't experienced this myself, but some people have stated that their white coworkers have literally told them, well, no, you're not like them. You're one of us. And that mentality, it's just insensitive to me still. You have no understanding of the everyday struggles and issues that I have to deal with and go through on a daily basis, and have to train my kids, cousins, sisters, anybody that's the same skin tone as me or the same race as me. I have to train them to learn how to talk to the police or how to get arrested, which is a real thing. We have to train them how to get arrested when we should, just like Clay was saying, we should be able to get pulled over, get our ticket without, and it's almost like they're baiting us, because they'll start asking questions that they've already known that they've pulled us over. So we're already a little nervous and a little agitated. And now you amplify it by asking the questions that would push a button, or perhaps get us to become a little more antsy and abnormal and start reacting to what they're asking
Did he cut off?
It froze up there.
That cricket wireless struck again. Do not trust that little green monster.
Yeah, he might just have to rejoin us here.
Yeah, he might have to. He might have to.
I think he get booted out of his own meeting.
Yeah.
So was he using that like a hotspot or something, or what?
Good.
No, I think he's on his cell phone.
Yeah, but being outside,
I don't know if he's on his LTE or if he's just using a puck or something. But
that's a good question, because, like you said, I mean, like if he's outside and he's, his phone's like trying to battle between his Wi-Fi in the house and that LTE. You're right.
Telling you, that's that cricket wireless. That little green monster is not as strong as he pretends to be.
Here we go. I think we're about to get him back.
Yeah.
Oh, we gotta hit him with a hi.
Oh, we got two of them now. Multiple devices.
Yeah. Oh, he's trying.
He is. He's got his laptop out in the front seat there. Just, let's see. I think he's back.
Yeah.
I just got a notification that he's back to hosting.
Rose quiet. Mama's quiet.
Bro, I'm curious what that blue juice is you're chugging over there, man. That stuff looks good.
Nah, it's water, man. It's got some Mio in here just to
right on.
Get this gallon down.
Gotta get the job done.
Starting a diet plan or something, trying to get the water up?
I'm trying to, man.
I'm rolling with a little green tea with some Tazo. Starbucks here. This stuff is pretty good.
I can't believe this dude can't get back in, man.
Well, he is in Memphis.
So hold on, what is he in Memphis for?
He's been driving across the damn country.
Doing what? Being
robbed. That's it.
I know he went to the Chi to go see his family, but I guess he's on
Boston.
Boston.
Yes, he was in South Bend,
Indiana. Seeing who?
At one point in time, he said he was thinking about going to Seattle.
That's funny.
I was like, why are you going to Seattle? Because it's there. Well, all right.
Yeah. I know he was working out there for a time, wasn't he?
Yeah, I think he was there. He went to Utah for some time and
Oh man. I have to tell you, this what was it, Thursday, man, we had a lady refuse. First of all, to get into any airport these days, you gotta have on your mask, right? So she's in the airport. I saw her as I walked past her to get on, and I'm prepping to go, and she gets on, and next thing you know, the flight attendant taps me on the shoulder and says, "Hey, we got one who's refusing to wear a mask." And I'm like, fuck. I'm like, all I want to do is just go. I'm ready to push back and go. And she's like, she's not ready. So I make the announcement to put on your mask, and everybody's got to put it on. She refuses to do it still. So I call the airport cops. They came on board, talked to the lady, and explained to her, the rule is if you refuse to put on a mask, can just tell you, fuck you for life. You're never able to come back on a flight, a United flight again. And then she suddenly changes her mind and then puts on a mask then. I'm like, you done had your mask on the entire time you were in the airport, because the cops in there, the TSA cops, make sure they're all everywhere looking to make sure to tell anybody. And she gets on the airplane and then decides not to put it on. Like, why? I mean, like, it got to the point where people were like about to beat her ass up because it's like, if you don't fucking put your goddamn mask on, because like the procedure is we got to deplane, everybody's got to get off, and then security's got to deal with her. And she finally relented when they came on and told her that you'll be banned for life if you don't, do what you're supposed to do. I'm just still amazed that we got people and we're still dealing with that right now. I really am.
I've taken that to be a misunderstanding of individual rights, that everyone is quick, one, they don't read the Constitution. Two, they're quick to say, I have a constitutional right. I'm an American citizen. I don't have to do that. You don't. But you cannot force me and my business to accept you to do what it is that you want to do. I can't go into your home when I wake up in the morning and say, I want to eat your cornflakes, and just open the door, walk in, sit down and eat. As we've already discussed, someone's going to get shot, and it'll probably be the person who's not in their own home. So why people believe that they can do that in people's place of business, which you do not have a right to be in,
right?
To think that you can exert some power and dictate how things should run in those businesses.
Yeah. I mean, I don't get it. I mean, like, you got your personal liberties, and your personal liberties exist when you're in public places, not when you're in a private place, in the realm of a private company's business. You can't do that. You got to operate within the rules. Your part of your personal liberties go out the window when you accept buying a ticket under these, under the certain limitations that the company offers, or specifies. But I don't think people just really understand the law. But then, nobody paid attention to fifth grade and sixth grade civics, back in the day. Nobody knows what that really means. It just thinks that, hey, it is what it is. I get to do what I want to do. So I don't know.
I equate it to the sign that you see at every single store ever since I grew up, the no shoes, no shirt, no service. And I mean, there's nothing in the Constitution that says that you have to wear a shirt or that you have to wear shoes, but it's up to each establishment to set their policy. And a lot of them do it based on guidance from the local county health board or the state health department and stuff like that. Basically saying that if you're not wearing shoes, you're probably going to get some weird stuff on your feet, or you're going to bring some weird stuff in on your feet that's going to get passed on to other people. So for everybody's safety, you wear shoes. Same thing with the shirt. Nobody wants to see that when they're trying to get their icy over at 7-Eleven. So no shoes, no shirt, no service. You just throw a mask on there too, at least for the time where it's appropriate. I mean, it's a local policy. You agree to abide by it when you step through the doors of that establishment. Otherwise, you can expect to get thrown right back out. And I feel like that's perfectly reasonable. Have your opinions on the efficacy of the mask, whether you think it does the job or not. I don't know. But if I agree to do business with an establishment that requires me to wear a mask when I walk in, or I live in a county that requires me to wear a mask to go into a place of business, I do it because I'd rather not have that discussion, that argument, or that embarrassment of getting kicked out. I want to save myself that embarrassment and also the embarrassment of the people who are forced to do their job and throw me out on my ass because I just don't think they're getting paid enough to go through that either.
No, they're not. Flight attendants don't get paid jack. Really their benefits are more than what they actually get paid. But so you're right about that. But I can't believe that this day and time we still got people, here it is. I mean, this stuff started in February, March timeframe, and here we are still in September dealing with civil liberty types, scenarios that people just can't get through their head and move on for the betterment of society, that we may just, have some level of normalcy. But yeah, it is what it is. You're on mute, CB.
I realize that. I think that goes back to the empathy discussion that Clay brought up and that you were discussing about being in New Orleans. If we were empathetic.
Good news is it's still recording.
Yeah, I know. If people were empathetic to the plight of others, then they would go, you know what? As a collective, as a country, we need to wear the mask because our enemy right now is coronavirus, and we want to fight and defeat coronavirus. And we were all willing to do so after 9/11. We gave up a lot of different civil liberties, things that that have not returned to us, to ensure that we were able to fight terrorists. We joined together as a collective, as a country, to fight the war on terror. And if we treat a health emergency the same way, where we come together as a collective, we can defeat this disease, this virus, which is taking the lives of far too many people throughout the world, let alone in our country and our local communities. But we have to do it as a team effort. Putting on the mask is not about going against your civil liberties. It's about protecting yourself and your neighbor. Even if you don't believe it, let's just say it is a complete hoax. But if you wear it, can you take care of your neighbor, your grandmother, your friend, the people in your community, in your church community, your mosque, your synagogue, whom you care about? That's the reason why I wear a mask. I wear it for myself and for my family and for my next door neighbors. Not because per se I believe that the government has my best interest at heart. I need to take my own best interest and my neighbor's best interest at heart. And that's why we wear the mask. And if more people thought like that and less about the government trying to erode your civil liberties, I think we'd be much better off.
I feel like it's a small step, where everybody who is making the most noise about being forced to wear a mask are the same people who are complaining the loudest about having the economy shut down and not being able to leave their houses and stuff like that. And I feel like this was what was put forward to us. It's such a small step. And the government says, hey, if you can wear this mask, if you can abide by this, wear this mask and maintain 6 feet distance from the people next to you, then we'll let you get back to life as you knew it before. It's an incremental step, but
The topic of the conversation is masks.
Yeah, we're talking about masks. And I see your Chicago Cubs one there trying to troll everybody. But anyway, yeah, I feel like it's such a small step that is so easy to comply with, yet people keep refusing to do it. And if we get put back on a hard lockdown because people refuse to wear the mask, I feel like the joke's on them. And it's really kind of ruining it for all the rest of us.
I agree that, we're politicizing a medical situation. And this is exactly what happens when you do that. People take sides. It's like medicine, as far as I know, medicine and science is just one side, okay? You adhere to that and you pay attention to the science because the science is just what it is. It's hard facts, the ones we discover. But it's not, you take another side just based on your opinion and what you believe about, how this relates to civil liberties, and then go ahead and make a decision and then take a stance against what's really, a little bit of logic. But, this so-called leader that we have is really politicized a medical condition or a medical situation, and that's where we are. This is why you never do this, and this is why division of people has always been a nutcracker for the America. You can't keep dividing people and then expecting a different outcome. Has this dude come back into the fold, or we just going to operate without him?
Well, it's still recording, so he said just proceed on with conversations. It's still recording, and we'll chop it up later.
Good, I can appreciate that. But all right, so I see we got Momma in the picture. So
oh yeah, I had to jump in because I seen a message from Ro.
Yeah.
I had to jump in because I seen a message from Ro. Say that one more time. I couldn't hear you. For the people in the back, I'm hard of hearing. Say that one more time.
You must have received some erroneous text, and I don't know what you're talking about.
I thought you had said something. I didn't know.
Mm-hmm.
What you talking about?
I didn't know because I was looking at my notifications, and I said, "Oh, that seems like that was a message for me." I didn't know. I had to double check.
Jordan, where your mask at? Why you talking without your mask?
I'm social distancing, okay?
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So these masks don't work, then what? What's next? COVID still around?
Well, who said who's saying the
mask
mask don't work? Who is saying the mask don't work?
It doesn't work. I'm saying what's next if COVID stays around? Because the assumption
I think
go ahead.
I think we're stuck with it for a while. I mean, I don't see it going away anytime soon. And I feel like what it's really revealed is a couple of things about our culture. I think number one is that we got caught flat-footed. We are not ready for a major pandemic, to the point where we're just getting to the point now where people are recognizing that it's dangerous. I think there are a lot of people in the hoax camp thinking that this is all made up, but kind of thinking that this is being played up to be a lot bigger than it is. But the fact is that as an American culture, we have not taken public health seriously for a long, long time. We've abused ourselves. We've let ourselves get into situations where we have a whole plethora of pre-existing conditions that have just left us vulnerable to a simple virus like this. And the fact that nobody had any kind of immunity to it just left a hole in the defense. And I think if more Americans had paid attention to overall fitness and health leading up to it and hadn't been so obese or diabetic or heart disease leading into it, that it would not have affected nearly as many people as have been affected. The death rate would have been a lot lower, things like that. But as a culture, we've kind of gotten lazy and let ourselves slide into that sedentary lifestyle where we haven't really put public health or fitness or well-being on a pedestal where it should be. And we just assume that there will be a pharmaceutical to fill it when we need it. So we can kind of ignore those needs and let ourselves go, and that a doctor will have a magic pill that'll take care of it when the time comes. And I think as a culture, that's caused a lot more damage than it's needed to. And so when the CDC came out last week saying that out of all the deaths associated with coronavirus, that 94% of them indicated complicating factors such as obesity, heart disease, diabetes, asthma, things like that. I understand some of those things are out of our control, but some of those things are very much in control and things that we need to be proactive about looking out for, both in ourselves, our families, and our communities, and being vocal about it, and telling people to put themselves first, take care of themselves. And that way, if something like this comes along, you don't get blindsided by it, but your body's ready to fight it off. I don't know. That's just the way I feel about it. I realize that it's a very detrimental virus based on where we've allowed ourselves to be. But at the end of the day, it's another virus.
It's kind of like what we were talking about earlier about the police. your interactions with the police. If you've never had any, just like, never experienced anybody close to you ever having died or have any complications, health complications from, COVID, it seems like a hoax, just like, having a, adversarial interaction with a cop is like a hoax to some people because their interactions have never been that way, but yeah, I've had 2 people just in this neighborhood pass away. People that I know. I run by their houses every day. There's a lady down the street, her husband just died from complications because of COVID. And there's a lady across the lake from me just died. She had some, just like you were saying, pre-existing conditions that Americans accept as part of just being American, such as diabetes, hypertension, and the sort. And she passed because of complications. But if you don't experience it, you don't treat it like it's like it's a real issue. And the next thing you know, you're making comments like the lady made in Rob's work meeting. Like she said, like she said earlier. So, yeah, I think it's kind of the same way.
I think Clay makes a valid point that we are a country hooked on medication. And so it doesn't matter what you have because there's a pill for that. And we're going to make sure you have access to it. So you don't have to be healthier because we have a pill. You don't have to cut back on fatty foods because you can either get plastic surgery, you can get a band on your stomach, or you could take blood pressure medicine, you could take cholesterol medicine. So I just want to state, Clay, I think you make a strong, valid point about our general public health and how we approach public health, and then how we're approaching COVID as it relates to public health and the impact that our pre-existing conditions are having and causing such tumult right now in people's lives.
Well, let's go down that rabbit hole then, since you opened up Pandora's box. So you got to ask yourself why people's conditions are the way that they are during this pandemic, right? So in the perfect world, everybody can go exercise and practice good health and have access to great health care and all those things, but this is not the perfect world. We mentioned a lot on here, socioeconomic conditions, right? We're talking about a caste system within America, the haves and have-nots. We can all talk from that perspective of being able to get a plastic surgery or control our destiny when it comes to fitness and health. But if your school doesn't have the resources, your neighborhood schools don't have the resources, if you don't have the Aldis and the Whole Foods and the Safeways in your neighborhood, then you're left with high fatty food, high blood pressure type food, but it's cheap. It's cheaper than going 10 blocks the other way across town and buying something that's going to suck up your paycheck when you're not on a livable wage, right? So again, we can sit from the bleachers and throw darts at those that don't have those resources and can't take care of themselves because they're worried about other things, like putting a roof over their children's head or clothes on their backs. So let's not forget that while we're talking about underlying conditions and such, because some people, black, white, yellow, brown, poor is poor. You can't afford it. You don't have good health care. You're not going to be able to take care of yourself. If you live in a high risk area, low income area, eventually that property value is by design. It's systematic to drive that property value down, push everybody out the area. It's called gentrification, right? So, why are these people the way that they are? Why? And I'm not totally buying the COVID deaths. I buy COVID related deaths because when you have an underlying condition, I challenge you to look at normal influenza with somebody with diabetes and they die. What are they dying from? Are they dying from influenza? Or are they dying from diabetes? That hasn't been fleshed out to me intelligently yet. So I'm not 100% sure those COVID numbers for deaths, the 187K in the United States, is accurate. I think it's blown way out of proportion. That's just my personal opinion. Again, the underlying issues are when you have a pretty deadly virus, I think the underlying condition is just the state of your body, and your health is very low. I think the virus didn't help it, but I don't know if the virus totally caused it. So having said that, my whole point, circling back, is, again, if the numbers keep rising, the mask, everybody's been conditioned with the mask. What's next? Are they going to roll everybody back to phase 0, lock it down, come out for essentials only? How do you think Americans are going to react at this point? When AMC around the corner for me is just opened, how's America going to react? So that's the only point I wanted to make.
When we're talking about how we take a pill for everything, we've been taught that in this country, and I don't know what they do in other countries, but in this country, we have commercials for medicine. So from the time you're a child, pretty much they're telling you, if anything is wrong with you, we can fix it with this. If you're coughing, you can take this. If you feel sad, you can take this. If you're too fat, guess what? I got something for that too. You can do this. So they're teaching us from a very young age that we don't have to be accountable personally for our health, because if there's anything going on with us, all we got to do is go to the doctor and they're going to give us something for that. And culturally, fast food is a big deal here. And I always tell my kids they must be injecting this stuff what tastes good, because it's addictive. Fast food is not disgusting. So you're going to have a hard time telling people that it's not good for them when it tastes so delicious. You know what I'm saying? And I think that needs to be accounted for as well. It's like the perfect storm of every issue that we've been grappling with here in America. And now it's converging in this one pandemic that we have to deal with. And now all this other stuff is, coming to a greater light. We have to pay more attention to it. Oh, so underlying conditions are the things that are really causing a lot of the COVID deaths. Okay, well, why do you have underlying conditions? Okay, well, why don't you take care of yourself? And then you start going down this rabbit hole, like Rose said, it's not just individual. I don't think, yes, we have to be accountable for ourselves and what we put inside of our bodies, but there's so much marketing for medicine in this country. The pharmaceutical industry is so huge. How could you not almost have the idea that fresh foods and vegetables is the things that you need to stay off of medicine, when here being on medicine is not a big deal? People are surprised when they find out that you don't take anything, because most people are on something at one time or another,
If it were left up to me on your plane, Captain, if I were king for a day, I say, hey, this flight's not taking off. Go and watch the culture, watch the humanity, watch the Darwinism come into effect with how people handle that one person. So again, I'm being subtle with when I say, the mask is the first step in conditioning people to government enforcement of what some people consider a personal or an entitlement or a personal infringement. Having said that, if this thing draws out, is this the first step? What is Uncle Sam going to take from you next? So that's my only point. I think it should be left up to people in their good judgment to kind of police themselves, because we're spending a lot of money on these COVID-related resources, just getting people in line and, asking cops to be healthcare workers and all this stuff. So I don't know. What do you guys think about that?
I think, before I go, I got to jump off, but my question would be the reverse. What are we not willing to do to fight COVID? Are we not willing to wear the mask? Are we not willing to stay home? Are we not willing to no longer go to the movie theater or the grocery stores or anything else? What is our limit? Because that's what we're going to have to find and maybe test to resolve this issue. And those who are not willing to fall in line, is, like you said, is Darwinism going to step in where people start to enforce it on their own? Or will the COVID monster get them and we no longer have to worry about their pushback because they're gone to glory?
Just personally, I think that if for the largest part of it, if we need to wear masks, we need to wear masks. And that's just it. No matter, for argument's sake, let's just say the government is trying to do something fishy with it and is down to the civil liberties and all this other stuff. Today, we still need to wear the mask. Today, we know how it's transmitted. Today, we know how people are catching it, and we need to wear the mask, period. For our own protection and the protection of other people, no matter what the underlying issues are governmentally, we know we need to wear the mask today. And I'm a person who does not enjoy having to be quarantined as much as I am and not doing the things that I normally want to do. I want to travel. I want to go take my cruise. I want to go and do all the fun stuff too. But I'm not willing to die for it. You know what I'm saying? I'm not willing to have X's on my eyes to say I did it, So that needs, to me, like, are you willing to die for it? Are you willing to die for your beliefs at this point? Is this that important to you that I don't want to wear this mask and I'm willing to die for it? Because if you're willing to leave, then okay, don't wear it. But if you want to live, put on the mask. It's not that big of a deal,
That's when the Darwinism was about to come in, because the folks had to go ahead and we were about to debark everybody on the flight because that person was about to catch hell from everybody on board. Folks got to get places and things like that. So the moment somebody decides that they don't want to pay attention to the rules, that's when that Darwinism kicks in effect, and people will figure it out for themselves what's good for themselves. So,
well, y'all, I have to hop off of here, and it was very nice speaking with all of you. And Clay, it was very nice to meet you.
You too, Mama.
All right, y'all be safe now.
All right, y'all have a good time. And Ro, you ain't about that life. Bye. Ro, you ain't about that life.
You ain't about that life.
You ain't about that life, bro.
Get off of Zoom.
You ain't about that life. First off, you too light skinned to be about that life. See, I wasn't even trying to handle you like that. I wasn't even trying to handle you like that. But you always do it. Now I got to call you light skinned just on GP. See?
Hey, y'all know Clay is in this conversation now. Y'all can't be sharing.
He's in the
There's
circle.
nobody with lighter skin than mine.
Clay, you in the circle of trust now. You in the circle.
In the circle of trust.
I feel embraced. I appreciate that.
Oh yeah.
Wow. So it's amazing. I don't think anybody was prepared to take on the role of host of this joint. And I think we covered enough ground to make sure that Rob had enough material to go ahead and edit to make a show. So